headed for the steel door at his back. Distract, dismay, then detour. That was her life motto, or at least her new life motto. Broke my arm when I was 7, longest 6 weeks of my life. She paused at the door, looked over her shoulder, and lifted her brow as she waited. He stared at her a full second, then gave his head a small shake and turned. "Oh, right. Sorry. You'll need to sign in first, Mrs. Anderson. It's standard procedure." "Sure." Kat took the clipboard, signed her alias, and waited while he unlocked the door from his station. "Thanks, Jim. I'll only be a few minutes." She eased into the room and closed the door behind her. Leaning back against the cool metal, she let out a long breath. Her performance had been near Oscar-worthy. She reached up to wipe her brow. Top-notch acting, but sweating buckets. It was a wonder Jim the sentry hadn't noticed. One tiny mistake like that could send her to an early grave. Or late, considering how you looked at it. Since legally Katherine Meyer had died in a car bomb in Egypt, she couldn't possibly be breaking into one of the most famous auction houses in the world. But here she was. The trick now was simply to stay off everyone's radar. The trick always was to stay dead. She glanced around the storage room. The space was big, at least 30 feet by 30 feet. Long tables were lined up in linear rows and covered in black fabric. Artifacts lay positioned on the tables, and stock cards with printed numbers sat in front of each piece. She checked her watch. In a few minutes, the room would be a flurry of activity, auction house specialists and assistants moving pieces through the adjoining door at her right to the auction room stage. That's why she'd waited to make her move. Chaos was the perfect way to cover her tracks. She had mere moments before her window of opportunity was up, though, and she needed to find it before that happened. Wasting no time, she wove through the tables of Egyptian artifacts and tried not to look at the late-period jewelry, the Middle Kingdom carvings. Inside, though, her blood warmed as the past surrounded her, and with it, the dread that had been dogging her for longer than she could remember. She pushed the feeling away and kept searching. Panic rose when she neared the back of the room and still couldn't find it. On a deep breath she hoped would calm her pulse, she stopped and turned a slow circle. And that's when a sparkle 3 tables over caught her eye. Her hand shook as she crossed the floor quickly and reached for the gold statuette of the crouching pharaoh, no more than 3 inches long, stuck between a chipped stone relief of Queen Tiye and a Sphinx statue. The metal was cool to the touch. The gold chain looped through a small hole in the back, soft against her fingers. It was heavier than she remembered, and while it looked solid, Kat knew without even checking that it was actually hollow. After all this time, it was here, just like she'd hoped. He hadn't sold it after all. With quick fingers, she unbuttoned her jacket and took the forgery out of the small front pack she'd attached to her waist. She refused to think about why he was selling the relic now, refused to acknowledge that whatever sentimental value it might have once had for him was now gone. Sentimental value. Yeah, right. Okay, so there was still a little twinge in her heart when she thought of him, but her brain was working these days. And there was no way she'd ever make the same mistakes she'd made back then. Thank goodness for baggy pants and guards who didn't pat you down. She said a quick prayer of thanks to St. Jude and Sister Mary Frances, the woman who'd taught her all about hopeless causes, and slipped the artifact into the pouch. After repositioning the forgery on the black drape of fabric, she rebuttoned her jacket, then headed for the exit. The knob on the door rattled, stopping her feet 2 steps from freedom. A muffled, angry female voice drifted through the metal, followed by the jangle of keys. Kat's heart rate jacked up. They'd figured out she was a fake. Jim the sentry must have called someone when her signature didn't match those on file. It was only a matter of time until they barged in and cuffed her.